have the inspectors going out there inspecting them. This is happening in rural areas. I spoke with somebody at the EPA fairly high up, and I asked him, because Ohio EPA has the air permit side of things, and DNR handles the bulk of the regulations. But I asked the EPA person, how often are your inspectors able to go out there and check the air emissions? Because you can get a general permit. He said, well, with large sources, speaking in general, large sources, think power plants. They get out there about once a year. Okay, so are you telling me that, like, just because it's not a power plant size, you're probably not going to get out there once a year? Probably not going to get out there once a year. And so you have all these little, actually big, operations going on, and because they're not in that spot for more than a year, regulators aren't getting to it. You know, it's all complaint driven.
Can you explain what your jar is, since you're talking about air quality? We know what this is all about.
You know, one thing is I work a lot on diesel emissions, and there's about 900 to 1,100 truckloads of materials that are brought in on a fracking site, and those engines, those diesel engines, are older, meaning they're pre-2007. They're heavily polluted. There's regulation of US EPA in 2007 on newer diesel engines, about 95% cleaner. But what's in diesel fumes? We've all been coming up here from Columbus. I got my dose of diesel pollution for the day, probably for the year. But there's particulate matter. It's about 1/30th the width of a human hair. When you breathe it in, it bypasses your body's defenses, it lodges in your lungs. It's been linked to a whole host of health ailments, including asthma attacks, painful breathing, heart and lung disease, even death. The World Health Organization labeled diesel pollution as a carcinogen. The US EPA has it listed as a probable carcinogen. So when you have older diesel trucks going through small communities, not only are they doing wear and tear on the roads, not only are they a safety hazard when you have 900 truckloads going in, but you also have the pollution that's coming from these trucks. This actually came from a school bus, definitely a smaller engine than a semi or one of those compressor stations. And we helped the school district in Franklin County get a diesel particulate filter installed that reduces the pollution by about 99%. This is after 1 year's use of that diesel particulate filter on one school bus. So if you have hundreds of diesel trucks going in and out, that's a real health concern. Also, with the climate aspect of it, black carbon that's coming out of diesel engines, also allowed to require boilers and some other sources, is about 2,000 times more potent a climate warming agent than CO2 over a 20-year span. So when they talk about they're having a positive impact on the climate, I always question a lot of things. One of the things I question is, well, are you taking into consideration the diesel engines that are being used?
This is roughly 900,000 of these fine particulate jars that would be circulating in the air over the course of the world.
And it also contributes to smog in Wyoming.
And if it was a new diesel engine, how much less of that ash would be? Or?
It would be probably the airline down there.
Okay, so much less.
Yeah,
so we've asked these requirements that would prevent.
Yeah, we've asked the Ohio EPA, why not require all diesel engines to have emission controls on them? They said,
That's interesting.
It's a job killer.
Any other questions? Phil or
Josh?
Locals? Go ahead.
I did want to ask you about Act 13, and my understanding is it was challenged in a couple areas in Pennsylvania.
It is still being challenged.
It's still in process.
Yeah.
And what's the sense? Will they regain local control there?
They're challenging the clauses that basically strip communities of their comprehensive plans, strip them of their local abilities to regulate. And they're also challenging the gag order on the doctors, which says that doctors can't release the information that's given to them about the fracking chemicals if they're looking at a case, a health case, where somebody's been hurt by those. So that's still important.
Yeah, our Commonwealth, our state, we had, speaking of lawyers, a few really great lawyers take on Act 13 on behalf of a couple watershed groups, a doctor, and some citizens, municipal leaders. The challenge is a part of Act 13 that stripped local control away. And they won in Commonwealth Court. Commonwealth Court, well, Commonwealth Court put an injunction on that part of the bill, and so localities still have control. But it was challenged by Governor Corbett in his administration, and it's at the state Supreme Court level right now, and they're still debating.
They haven't written the rules for Senate Bill 315. So in Senate Bill 315, when we read it over, the beginning of it is this discussion about how we need a uniform regulation across the state of Ohio and how we need a comprehensive plan for the whole state. And the way that it reads is as if it trumps your local comprehensive plan. So,
isn't there something, I read something recently, like last few days, about the Attorney General going for somebody in Pennsylvania?
in Pennsylvania, yeah, the Attorney General has sued ExxonMobil for the illegal discharge of flowback fluids on OPAD sites. Many times you have these closed containment type systems. You know, in Ohio, they usually boast about how they have closed containment systems, so they don't have open pits and that type of thing. Well, ExxonMobil was simply, as far as we can tell from the case, either just opening up those containments so that it could drain out onto the well pad, or they were opening it up like next to a stream somewhere where it was draining off of the hillside. But either way, they were discharging quite a large amount, tens of thousands of gallons of flowback fluids into that area. So that's what they're being sued for. And there's also a case that Clean Water Action has brought against a waste treatment company in Warren, Pennsylvania, which is the county west of Triple Divide. And that case is about the waste treatment company accepting fracking fluid waste and essentially not treating it well enough, allowing it to be discharged into the rivers. And there's a high level of radium-226, radium-228 in the sediment in the Allegheny River. And Clean Water Action has documented this and has been suing the locals there recently. It's a very big controversy.
You know what's happening in New York and have a moratorium. In Pennsylvania, do you feel it's getting traction? Do you feel like when you show your review there, you're getting, I mean, are most people in denial, just ignorant of it still?
No, I think that, I can say for a fact that it's opened people up.
Okay.
In Bradford County, it was very difficult for us to talk with mostly the conventional farmers. They just were not willing to talk to us about these things. They said drilling was fine. They don't have any problems, everything's okay. But as Melissa and I have shown this film over Pennsylvania over the last 4 months, we've also gone to Bradford County to Chesapeake meetings and confronted them about things that we found. And in that confrontation, local farmers, conventional farmers who wouldn't talk to us for years, have decided they wanted to tell us what's going on. So they are beginning to open up their arms, take us on their land, and we're documenting crop yield loss. We're documenting poor handling investigations by Chesapeake Energy. We're documenting pipeline impacts to their fields, mostly corn, soy, and other crops that they're growing. So yes, there's more of a relationship now for us to talk with local people who were hesitant to talk before because they were comfortable after they saw the film and saw what we did.
A recent poll found 58% of Pennsylvanians are in favor of a moratorium. It's escaping me who did it. Do you remember who did that?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, 58% of Pennsylvanians support a moratorium. The Pennsylvania Democratic Caucus also recently, this past summer, it's still summertime, right?
Barely.
I think it was June or July, they passed a resolution that supports a moratorium in Pennsylvania, so the idea is definitely growing.
And we've been contacted by a lawyer to sue the state in regards to this pre-drill scandal that's going on. Melissa and I have been collecting more documentation of this. We have a lot more documentation of this where baseline testing is being dismissed for a number of different reasons. And another really high-profile cases in Pennsylvania that have been written about in National Geographic and other international publications, we've found that their baseline data is being dismissed, and these particular people are considered to have background conditions or pre-existing conditions, and that what's going on in their water is related to the natural gas drilling industry. So that's beginning to have some headway, and we're getting calls about it. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on You guys did a great job of covering, the state governments, but also on the federal level. If a lot of you guys saw the climate speech that Obama did a couple of months ago, he addressed fracking, and he is 100% pro-fracking. He said that, we need to do more of this. It's a natural resource. They're doing it safely, effectively, and he's pretty much bought and paid for by the industry. And so I think he needs to see more things like this and actually get on the ground level and see what's really happening. So, that's a big thing. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that a little bit more too.
We used to talk to crowds and say, could you please call your local representatives, your local politicians, and get them to at least talk about stuff that's in the film or issues that you've had. And we sort of changed the tune, which is like, could you please call the press and have the press write letters to the editor about your experience from the film, what you think, and have them publish it, because at this point in time, we just feel that the press could do a lot more as far as storytelling, since there really are so many stories out there. Melissa and I are trying to raise funds throughout this tour because we have over 500 impacted stories that we would like to release and involve in projects. So there's a lot out there that the press could be publishing, and it would be great if you could contact the press, reference your local politicians, send them the same letter. They need to be informed about these things so that when they're making decisions, they can make better decisions. Yeah.
I have one more question. I don't know whether it was fracking waste disposal or fracking itself, but there was a company up in I believe it was fracking waste disposal, but they had formed something like 160 LLCs to. Okay, now is anything being done to address this shell game that they play with their corporate LLC shell game tactics? Is this being exposed, or?
Well, they're being sued right now.
Well, they compartmentalize you can sue the one LLC that did the damage, but all the profit is going into the other LLC. Is there any way to tie these chimeras, I would call them, of LLCs that are springing up, that are diverting the damages to one LLC while profiting off of their others?
Well, Chesapeake has been known to create these multiple LLCs, and I'm guessing that's probably these firms here. They've been sued recently, within the last month, for royalty payments. They've had such large deductions in royalty payments. Like farmers in Bradford County who have leases are expecting to get large royalty payments off of the wells that develop in the property. In some cases, they're getting negative royalty checks. They're actually getting bills for $50, negative $50, negative $37. So this has been a hot topic in Pennsylvania, and they recently got sued, and it got settled overnight for about $7.5 million. So Chesapeake is at the forefront of that discussion, and I imagine there's going to be a lot more lawsuits